Today's episode of the Life of Phys Podcast is brought to you by Very Good Presets. All photographers know how saturated and underwhelming the preset market can be. You see some styles you like, you buy that pack of 20 presets, and when you put them on your photo, none of them look like what you expected. Very Good Presets has a different approach to color grading. Rather than a pack of presets, they offer them one at a time with modifiers to help refine that preset to your liking. Each preset has months of focus and calibration to make sure you get an incredible end result. Their film emulations have been used by major brands and artists such as country superstar Luke Combs. Additionally, a growing community of users rally around the brand and its developers to inspire and encourage one another. Very Good Presets strives to be an industry leader in a culture of generosity, giving regularly to organizations that help underserved communities have access to cameras, film, and photography equipment. My personal favorite preset is 1956, but with the recent release of the Portra 800, that may change soon. Check out Very Good Presets at verygoodpresets.com and try one or more of their presets using our discount code, Life of Phys. Welcome to the Life of Phys Podcast. I'm your host, Tyson Martin. On this episode, I have Joseph Pekara. Joseph is one of the most influential and accomplished photographers in the music and indigenous fashion scene. He has 4 Grammys, 3 Sony, and a Smithsonian Award in photography. Throughout his career, Joseph has worked with artists such as the Nappy Roots, Erica Banks, Red Berry Woman, Rihanna, Wale, Nicki Minaj, Wu-Tang Clan, Hieroglyphics, DJ Snake, and 50 Cent. Joseph's mission is to capture moments through his lens that tell stories and freeze time for music artists, culture, and life itself. Joseph and I discuss our indigenous culture and how important it is to empower our communities through photography and supporting those that came before us and allowed us to share what we do with the world. Look out for a future collaboration between Joseph and myself based around the beauty of our cultures. Now let's hear a word from our podcast partner and get to the show. The Life of Phys Podcast is lit by HoboLight. HoboLight is on a mission to empower creators to elevate their creativity with lighting kits made to last and built to inspire. These lights are bold, beautiful, and powerful because HoboLight believes that your lights deserve to be seen. To learn more, follow them on Instagram at HoboLite.
My name is Joe. My photography name is Sparrow171. My whole journey started in Colorado. My uncle, who was one of my best friends, passed away. And he was always a person in my life that just always had a camera. And he didn't do it for anything, just, for himself. He would go on these hikes or bike rides or whatever. And he would just always have his camera, and he would mainly be shooting like wildlife and stuff, random natural life living, I guess, in downtown area. But it was mainly just wildlife because he would kind of just scape out and into the foothills or, wherever he wanted to go. And then my mom, she was an influence for me. She was always the person with the camera at like family functions. And so they both kind of inspired me in my own way, or in their own way for me. When my uncle passed, I never had a camera that allowed me to create what I wanted to create and capture what I wanted to capture, especially wildlife. And so when he passed away, my grandmother, his mom, gifted me his camera. And that's how I really just took off with myself. I would go on like YouTube and all this stuff and try to look up ways to, I think YouTube's a good way to figure out how to like get your camera working and understanding functions on your camera. But for me, I tried to use it to figure out how to be a photographer, and it was just a fail. The biggest thing that I learned was get out there, fail in the field, and that's how you learn. And, the more time you spend, and just my opinion, the more time I spent looking at a computer trying to figure it out, I was wasting time actually figuring it out. And so that was another push of mine, was just getting out there, going into open spaces, going on hikes. And I would look up ideas online, like, railroad tracks, I think are super, you can capture those in so many ways. And, a railroad here wouldn't be the same in another area. And so just working on different angles, different views. And it was a way for me to cope with losing my uncle, was just getting out there and just really finding myself. Do I really love this? Because it was cool when he did it. And it did. And I got really addicted to, okay, this works, but it would be really cool. I would look at certain photos and be like, oh, this it would actually look cool if I did this. So I would actually go back to the same spots and recreate after looking at what I captured and seeing, oh, you know what, I actually would like it if it did this, or if I captured this angle, or, you know, did a 30-second shot at night with stars or whatever. And it was the excitement of coming home, realizing the photo wasn't that great, but being creative by looking at what wasn't maybe great and creating something great out of it, in my eyes. Because I think that if you're not happy with your own work, that's the biggest part of whatever art it is you're doing. Is if you're not happy with it, you won't understand why somebody else is. And so when my friend who did it, he's in a music group here in Colorado. They're called Thin Air Crew, and they were doing a show at a small venue called the Aggie. It's one of these venues in my town that it's a small venue, fits a couple hundred, maybe 1,000, but all the big names would come, like Wu-Tang and Wiz Khalifa was there, Mac Miller, you know. But it was a small stage, and it was just one of those stages that all these artists came to. And they were opening up for Hieroglyphics, and I got a shoot for them when they opened, and my pass wasn't limited to just the one artist. So I said, screw this, I'm going to just shoot Hieroglyphics. And to me, it wasn't even about shooting Hieroglyphics. It was just getting more time on the camera to figure it out, because I had such a blast just trying to figure it out with Thin Air Crew being my first show concert-wise. And from there, I just sent my photos to their management, and that's what it was. And then the same thing happened with Nappy Roots. And when I sent my photos to management, I actually got in contact with Andrew Yeager, who was their video at the time. And my career just went from there. And I just realized that I'm a very shy person to this day, but networking really is the key to a lot of success in the industry. No matter what kind of art you're creating, just knowing someone to display your work or get you into a venue, or, you know, whatever it is you need. I think coming out of my shell really helped me get to the places that I hope to get to. And so, yeah, I've been with Nappy Roots for 8 years. And from there, I got on with Wale. You know, the music industry is very large, but it's small. And the whole way, it was just my mom would support me. And then about my third year in, my mom passed away of lung cancer. And
I'm sorry to hear that, brother.
Oh, thank you.
We have a very connection there. My mom actually had a dual lung transplant.
Wow.
And she made it 9 months before the transplant failed, and ended up taking her life as well.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, man. So it sucks, dude. Like moms were the rock, man. Like they are. No matter what we go through, I still have moments. I'll pick up the phone, like something good happens, and I'll dial her number, and
yeah,
it's some lady that isn't my mom, and she's like, "You dialed me again." So I feel you on that one.
Kind of a cool relationship as well.
Yeah.
Even though it's, you know, not the one we wanted, but just for that person to be nice enough to say that, it's a little memory for you.
It is, for sure.
And speaking of memories, you know, that's what my mom really embedded in me, or like what I really took from my mom was, you know, when at these family functions, I was like, really, another family photo, blah, blah, blah. And now that she's gone and my uncle's gone and my grandmother's gone, I'm very thankful for those times that my mom took all these photos, because now that, I mean, at the end of our journey, that's all we leave behind. And that's all I try to, you know, capture within what I do is, you know, I just want a memory and a story to be captured in whatever it is that I captured, whether it be wildlife, you know, landscape, or concert photography. Memories are one thing that really all I have in my life for my family. So I just really try to always have that with me when capturing for everyone else. So.
What I really like is because FICE actually stands for Photography Heals Your Soul. And for me, photography saved me from all the negative stuff I was going through. finding that camera and being able to go and escape and take photos, just like you said in your journey. It was so important to me becoming who I am today and what I'm doing today and the direction I'm headed. It's really neat to hear, yourself who, you're a few steps ahead of me, but you have that same backstory. You have a reason that you got that camera and you started getting into it and the meaning and the memories. You're also a Grammy winner.
I am, yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's amazing. And, you work with your current artist, who we'll talk about here in a little bit, because I know I congratulated you online for that one, which is unbelievable. Super sick. Being an Indigenous man I have 4 Indigenous children. My ex-wife was from a different community than I am. But it's people like yourself who offer, you're inspiring, you offer guidance, you show it can be done. It's really cool to see someone who's very proud of their Indigenous roots achieving all of these amazing goals. And I've been learning so much in the last year of my life from my Indigenous culture. And they're so proud, and there's so much pride in it that people just have this misconception of who we are.
Right.
So seeing that you've achieved these levels, it's such a cool thing to see. And what did you win the Grammy for, or Grammys, because it's multiple, correct?
Yep. So I have 4, and then I have one that's a CRA, which is Cultural Recognition Award. So I've won 1 Grammy. All of my Grammys, 2 of them are for photography. So in the Academy, there's so many more categories than just music. And within what we do, it's visual arts. So and then in visual arts, there's 3 categories: graphic design, photography, videography. So I've won 2 Grammys for photography, 1 for graphic design, which was an album cover. And last year was my first for film, which was a short film that was on the tour last year. And then the CRA award I won with Norma Redberry Woman. And what the Academy did was bring awards that the artists have and not move them over, but kind of introduce them to a lot of other categories that weren't receiving the types of recognition that the artists were receiving. Is the best way to put it. So like Billie Eilish received, the award is a Grammy, but you can't claim it as a Grammy, if that makes sense.
So it looks like a Grammy, but it's not classified as a Grammy.
Yeah, I can't claim it as something I won. I was just honored with it.
Okay.
The actual award is a CRA award, Cultural Recognition Award. So like Billie Eilish won one. I forget what the artist is called, but she was honored with one for like how much she gave back and was involved with the youth in her community. So for us, the Academy brought it over to visual arts, and they wanted to make it a cultural thing of someone that was representing their culture in a positive way, and an influence, and a list of other stuff that just really zoned in on a culture that was inspiring their people. So the Academy asked me if I would be one to be the first to accept it, and then them reaching out to me, they allowed me to reach out to someone that I would think should be able to receive it as well, which in my mind was Norma Redberry Woman, being the first Indigenous fashion designer to be on the red carpet, and now first to be, I believe, on every red carpet, if not close. And this last year, Kawana wore her dress at the Oscars, and the lady from Vogue, I'm very sorry for forgetting your name, but named her best dress.
Wow.
And yeah, huge accomplishment.
Heck yeah.
And the reason I went with Norma one is when I got into fashion photography, it was at this small, a small fashion show in Denver at DU, and someone was like, "Oh, Norma's headlining," and I already knew who Norma was, and I was like, "No way, she's here," and she did. She walked out, she was the final, and I went up to her, talked to her, and she knew of me, and it was very cool to have that moment of not. We were both kind of, people put us up here. I don't ever think that I'm above or better than anyone else, but we were just those people in that room that it was so cool to just see us both being where we belong, I guess is the best way to put it, which is with our people.
Yep.
And to me, I never believe you're too high or you're too big of a person to ever go back to where you came from or ever go back. Like for us, like I always try to show up to powwows and anything that's involving my community in Denver or, my community in general, whether it be in another state. And, so yeah, we did a whole shoot. She designed 6 dresses and a suit for the shoot. And we went up to Deadwood in South Dakota and we did a whole Grammy shoot up there, for the award. And then all of the, models got to receive a Grammy stamp photo. So that was something that they get to take with them in their career. And it was very cool because we got Kawana to do the shoot. And, Kawana's young, but she's very successful. And we could have had, and I mean this humbly, like we could have had any celebrity because of what the award was for. But having celebrities in me and Norma's mind, it was like, you're already achieved. What we wanted to do was have Kawana, who's very inspiring. She's very young, and we got 6 other models. And the point was to have Kawana, not coach them, but just be that person in the room. I mean, it was a 10-hour day. The whole shoot took 10 hours in the summers, very hot. And she did an amazing job. And she just sat in the room and just answered any questions that these models had, whether, how do you get here? How did you get there? Any advice for me? What do you think about modeling agencies? Any of that stuff. And a lot of the conversation when I was able to be in the rooms was just talking about our people and who this person is and what their ways are and who Kawana is and what it was like, growing up the way she did. And that was what was super cool to me was, we have a Grammy outside. This whole project is for the Academy, but that's why I love our people is it's like, but who are you? And tell me about your people. And that's why I love our people as a whole, because there's nothing that's bigger than being Indigenous to us, if that makes sense.
100%.
And there's nothing we're more proud of than who we are. And that whole project will always have one of the most special places in my heart of just being involved in and hearing the conversations and just being a part of it. So that's the other award that I have through the Academy. It's Cultural Recognition Award. I also think I said this the other day during my museum exhibit I think it was one of the least recognized accomplishments for Indigenous people. And I think the Academy knows they can respectfully do better on showing the other categories within the Academy. There's so many other arts that are intriguing to people besides just the artists. I think visual arts is would probably be one of the most top viewed, I don't want to say award shows, but if the Academy showed it, I think it would be one of the most top viewed awards on TV. If they just gave it a shot. I think there's so many photographers and people that deal with cameras, and they're so interested in how to be in the industry. And a lot of people don't even know that, it's not about winning a Grammy. It's just about, I want people to know, there's so many ways you could be successful in the industry beyond being the artist or a producer or a songwriter. Because if you step back and think about it, how would you see an artist without us?
Exactly.
You wouldn't.
Yep. What's really cool to hear about that story is how she was just there being a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
She was,
that's a good word.
She was directing them, possibly in those questions that she answered, she was helping them avoid a pitfall that was going to come, that she's already dealt with. She figured out a way around it, and now she's going to help somebody to avoid that speed bump.
Right.
That's what's so great. So my wife works in the Indigenous programs in the schools. She has a kindergarten to grade 12. She's an Indigenous support worker, so she does culture in the school.
Good for her.
Yeah, she's an amazing singer and drummer. Like,
nice.
Makes me almost cry every time she does it. It's so powerful for me. But they did a big paddle, and they came into just not far from where we are here. I'm just outside of Vancouver, British Columbia. And I went down to surprise her. So I went down and waited. They paddled into the beach. She saw me and she was excited and all that. But then an elder invited me into a circle, and I got to hear story and protocol and all of this stuff that I wasn't familiar with, because I'm very new on my journey. And it just right there, I was already proud to be Indigenous, but right there it took it to level 1000.
Right.
And just seeing like a kid accidentally dropped his drum. So the elder, he didn't scold him. He showed him the protocol, how to clean the drum and get away from the being dropped and all the procedure to do it. And it was so beautiful to watch. So much that people don't understand about what the culture means and why we're 100% Indigenous. We are for our culture all the time.
Yep.
Yeah, man, it just makes me happy, man. Every time I think about it, I'm just excited to be who I am and be able to now know where I'm from, which took 47 years to find it. So now I know, so I have all this time to make up in history, but I've met cousins and aunts and uncles, and
that's exciting.
Oh yeah, it's really exciting.
Very cool.
So that's part of this whole thing is I want to bring Indigenous creatives. I want to bring them on the platform here to let their stories be shared. So it shows other Indigenous youth coming up that, man, look at this. And we're not above you. We're not looking down on you. We're just giving you the steps to get here.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, that's man, we got a lot in commmen. I really like it. Yeah, man, it's super cool. I don't meet a lot of people that I'm like, man, I could hang out with you anytime. Like it's pretty cool. So yeah, Grammys, unbelievable. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So when you go out and do your photo shoots, do you preemptively plan it all for that Grammy fashion shoot? Did you have it all planned out, or did she make the dresses and then you saw the dresses? So you're like, okay, we can do this.
Yep. I let her have her freedom on creating the dresses. I wanted her to just create whatever she felt this award was feeling, whether it be a color or a pattern or how the dress is made shoulder wise or whatever. I wanted her to have the full freedom to create what she does. And I didn't see any of the dresses until they walked out. And we came up with a plan where to go. And she used a lot of women we knew, and then the one male, Tyler. And then her niece, Tessa, and her son, Elmer, were also in the project. When we were in the teepee, they were standing next to the models, and then we did a shoot without them standing. And then we moved to a second shoot outside the teepee. And there's bonnets kind of just in the background. And Elmer and Tessa danced and while we shot. And it was so beautiful to just have that medicine around us during the shoot. That was one of the most empowering moments of the shoot, was when we would move from the teepee for each model and they would dance. And so the only thing really planned was who was coming and where it was, that we would do a teepee and then something just outside, I guess is the best way to put it. We didn't really know the second setup until we were there, because, you look at an Airbnb online and it may look bigger than what's given. So, but it was just a massive front yard of grass. There was a stream that went around the front area, and then we were just surrounded by mountains. So it was pretty beautiful.
Nice.
So I guess there was a plan of shooting, just because, in a teepee, it's limited space and what to do. So Norma brought all the like the buffalo robe and the chair to sit on. We just really tried to focus on the models and the dresses and not do too much behind them.
Make them the center of attention.
Yeah. Yep.
I love the fact that it was kind of, she had full run and then it was just on the fly. You kind of set up as you were going. You saw it and you have that creative vision that you're like, okay, I got it. Let's go. And you just went full bore into it.
Yeah. And I feel like that's how I go about really any shoot, whether it be for the shows or for when I just go out and shoot wildlife or landscape. I really try not to go out and say, okay, I'm just shooting bison today. Because then I feel like my mind is so close to a bird that just flew by, or, you know, if I'm hiking wildflowers or something, I feel like when I go out with my mindset on one thing or having a quote plan, I guess, it closes my mind. And that's just how I work. So I really try to just go out and be like, you know what, I'm going to go shoot outdoors today, and whatever's there, I'll be happy to have.
That's what I do. I grab my camera and wander. And I just let my camera and let my eyes pick what I need to shoot that day. And some days it's owls, you know, some days it's eagles, some days it's bears, some days it's garbage cans in an alley, some days it's graffiti. Cool. And man, it's just whatever I look at and I can go, I see something, I'll just take the photo. And that's awesome. I'm very much I'm a single shot shooter. So it's click. All right, let's go. I don't sit there and focus. Oh, I missed it. Nope. If I missed it, there's a reason I missed it. Let's move to the next thing.
It's very cool. I like that.
So you do a lot with powwows. I've noticed you've done Indigenous fashion. We have an Indigenous Fashion Week up here in Vancouver. Cool. And it's something that shooting people is new to me, and it's something I really want to get good at. I just love when you nail that photo of a person, and I don't do that very often, but I'm nervous. I'm nervous to put my cards in the ring to ask them, hey, can I get credentials to come shoot? Sure. Do you have any advice for that, for myself, or for anybody listening that is just, we have the ability, but we're just scared to take that next step?
Yeah. And I've been there a lot. And sometimes I still am. It's just, you know, even for example, Grammys are not a lot of things that I walk around and say I have. And it's just like, I rather my work speak for itself than the awards. And, but I've also, you know, I have great people around me who say, you know, your art created these awards. The awards did not create your art. And when I heard that said to me, it's something that I also need to be proud of, and, you know, accept that I've earned these, I guess, in a way. And so now with those behind me, it's a little easier, I guess, sadly, when I don't think that should be the reasoning.
Did you find they open more doors for you?
Yeah. But, you know, in the industry, when you kind of get to that point, or when you start opening up and networking, you really meet people who know people. And that's actually one of the biggest things that made me realize, take the risk. So I guess my advice to answer your question is, I would just take the risk. I'd rather go home being denied than going home not getting the show because I didn't do it. And one thing I've learned from the artists I work with is, don't tell me no, tell me how.
Okay.
If you go to a venue and you say, hey, you know, so-and-so is playing, I'd love to shoot. What, you know, can I get credentials? Can I get a media pass? And they say no. A lot of people just take the L and leave, and they'll, you know, not understand why. Always ask how. How can I get in these shows? Can I work for you? That's always an option, is working for the venue. You know, you can say, okay, well, can I take the photos for you guys tonight? And you guys have rights to these photos. That way, that still gets you in the door. And then what you do with that is, that's when your networking comes in. Okay, tonight I'm just with the venue, but let me see if I can reach the artist. Because when you take photos of an artist, they also will always have rights to it, because the photo is of them. So even if the venues have rights to the photos because you shot for them, you can still send your photos to the artist. It's just getting in the door. And one of the biggest things I've always realized that shows is you never know who's there. The best advice I try to give people in the music industry or anything that you're trying to get yourself seen is you never know who's there. Somebody always knows somebody. And that person may not be recognizable, but, you know, can you point out the person who owns Gucci? Do you know what they look like?
Nope.
Can you point out or say the name of the person that, you know, owns a lot of these high, like Versace or anything? I couldn't tell you what they look like. So how would you know if they're standing in the room? And, you know, you shooting a concert, how do you know you never know what the artist is wearing. You could have shot a concert photo and, you know, they were wearing Louis Vuitton shoes and now Louis Vuitton wants to do something with you. So you never know what can come of. And that's why I never go into a situation closed-minded of, I'm here for this. You know, I always try to stretch my photography out to what is the artist wearing, just because I am doing a lot of fashion now. So sometimes I'll capture their shoes or I'll capture their pants or, you know, whatever. So you can visually see a little bit closer of what they're wearing. I was in a show once and one of the largest names for Sony Records was in there. And they noticed my work just from shooting the show. And that to me was like, wow, I guess, you know, how do you know who works at half of these major record labels?
That's true.
You don't, because they're not in front of the camera. So you just never know who's in there. And it could be, you know, the owner of a restaurant that wants your work hung up, or somebody at a radio station that wants, you know, I've been in a lot of radio stations and it's amazing to see all the work that is displayed of just concert photography. You know, just to even think of a radio station, you're like, and you walk through there and you're like, wow, imagine if Tupac was alive and saw this.
Oh, could you imagine?
You know, artists, you know what I mean? Like, it's in a place that you wouldn't think of, that Tupac could have walked through and said, who shot this? Who shot this? That, you know, you never know when someone's going to notice. And that's what really kept me going, is just staying creative and always keeping an open mind of somebody could be here. Every opportunity is an open door for another opportunity. And I always tell my model, not my models, but the models I work a lot with, is the same thing. Like, you don't know who's in here. And if you sit here and you don't take this chance, you may be blocking yourself from an opportunity that would have came from this, that would have been your next big one. There's an indigenous dancer named Atia, and she's in somewhere in New Mexico, and she runs a dance studio, and she always asks me for advice, and I'm working with this artist, Talamisha, hopefully soon. And Talamisha and I go back and forth a lot. And Talamisha was having like an open music video thing, which a lot of artists don't do anymore. And I said, Atia, get down there and, you know, do this music video. I said, you have to pay for everything to get there. But once you get there, you know, this music video could lead you to so much more. So if you take this one risk, this one time, and you don't get anything, you know, maybe, you know, at least you took the risk and, you know, and maybe you learned something from it. You know, the success isn't always another job. It could be self-learning. And I said, so go down there, do this. I'll talk to Talamisha, make sure you get a part. And again, it's who you know in the industry. She went down there, she got a major part, and she got a lot of work from it.
That's
and it just
amazing.
took the one time of investing in yourself to go somewhere and take a chance. And I promise you that happens a lot more than people think. When you just invest in yourself, when I say invest in yourself, it could be what Atia did, like pay for her own trip, pay for her own stay. To me, that's still investing in yourself. And she did all that to take a risk, and it worked out for her. May not always work out for you, but I've heard it happen more than it does. Yeah.
You know, I took a risk with this podcast because I was very hypercritical of myself. just putting any of your work out there to the public takes courage. You're doing something that a lot of people won't do. So we all need to be proud of the steps we make. That advice, again, that's fantastic. Just say yes. Just go for it. Don't give up if you get the L, right? Just try you got to look at different angles. You got to think on your feet in those moments.
Yep.
I did that with the lighting company Hobo Light. I saw them pop up. I hadn't seen them before, but they popped up. There's lots of big names pushing the stuff. And I commented on a photo for the VP, and I said, man, lit by the best lights in the industry. And then just in the next line, I was like, man, my new studio would look great lit by your product. And as kind of a joke, right? And then 5 minutes later, I had an email from the VP of marketing, and she goes, nice. Oh yeah, I've listened to your podcast. I love the avenue that you're headed. And she goes, what can we do for you? Do you want some samples to try? And I was like, yes. But then I thought about it, and I was like, I'd much rather build a partnership with you. I'd much rather have a partner than you giving me some samples, me saying how great they are, and then me sending them back.
Right.
So we established, we signed a contract. I'm an official ambassador for Hobolite. And it was all like awesome. You said, I just went for it. I said yes. And then I turned that into, we actually just removed the end. So we can cancel the contract anytime we want after December, but for the foreseeable future, I'll be an ambassador for their brand.
Awesome. Congrats.
Thanks, man. I just, like you said, I took a chance.
Yeah.
I threw it out there and it happened.
And I've learned more from, I don't like the word failing, but I've learned more from failing than I have succeeding. I feel like when you succeed, you're like, okay. Where you kind of just stay on the same, okay, well, this worked. And your mind doesn't really broaden to anything else because that just worked. Where when I fail, or like, for example, I shoot a lot of birds because when I'm off tour, shooting birds, as you probably know, you never know when they're going to take off. You never know what direction they're going to go. And so shooting birds keeps my reaction for stage presence. I never know where an artist is going to go. So it just keeps me aware, keeps me alert. And there's so many more bird shots that I've missed than ones I've captured. And that's the beauty of failure to me, is when you do get that one, it is so much more exciting than just succeeding all the damn time.
Yep.
It's so much more special to know what you went through and the way you worked your mind to figure it out, or just be, I learned a lot of patience watching birds. And there's so much to photography that I don't think a lot of people recognize. And a lot of it is just self, like anything to do with yourself, patience, reaction, learning, understanding, having an open mind. It's all in your body. And I feel like a lot of people just want to pick up a camera and be like, yeah, I took that shot. And it doesn't work like that.
I never thought about that connection. I mean, having to pan as, say, an eagle takes off and is soaring and you're trying to follow it to keep it in focus, how that would correlate to working along the stage, trying to keep your artist in the focus. Like there's so many connections to just being open to shoot I'm a photographer. I never pick a genre because I shoot everything. And so many people want to pigeonhole themselves so early in their photography endeavor. Oh, I only shoot street. That's all I do. I shoot street. But why? You can shoot street. Shooting street's one of my favorite things to do, but I've used techniques I've learned by shooting. We get a lot of bald eagles here. So in certain times of year, we have thousands. Like
I come up there.
Yeah, man. Dude, seriously, hit me up. I'll show you.
Perfect.
But yeah, so like right out my door, there's some big tall trees and they nest. So I get 2 in this nest every year. And you can hear them at night and in the morning doing their call, and it's pretty cool. pretty powerful. So when somebody has the experience and they can share it the way you do and the way you're telling people on the podcast here, I was telling you in the beginning before we started recording that I have this project that I'm trying to figure out how to put into play currently. So my thought process was to take a company like Camp Snap, who does those little, their little cameras, no LCD screen, they're digital. They hold about 100, 120 shots.
Okay.
Trying to partner with them for about 30 cameras, and then getting in contact with each nation and talking to them about sending, hey, can I send these cameras to 30 youth that can capture images for 30 days? And
Cool.
then they'll send, I'll obviously postage paid back to me, and I'll contact sheet them for them, and I'll email them all out to each kid. And then we'll just talk. And I have a group of people. There's 3 or 4 people right now that not critiquing, but to just to elevate. I don't like to say critique because it's a harsh word. Help each kid elevate. And the one kid from each community, or the 2 kids from the community that really show promise and are really passionate about moving forward, we set them up with another photographer, like a professional level photographer,
Very
who,
cool.
if they have old gear, they can send them a camera, mentor them for a year. And we're just trying to put all these pieces in place right now. Mainly, I want to see, because photography has given me so much. So I want to see the youth understand there's so much outside the walls, right? Give yourself that way to express yourself in a different artistic endeavor. I mean, up here, dancing, carving, beading is all very popular.
Right.
Photography, not so much. So get them another creative outlet, and then have the ability to have a mentor who is someone who is established and working in the industry and willing to offer the advice that they need to keep moving forward in that path. So that's just kind of a rough breakdown of what I'm trying to put together.
Very cool.
I just think it's something that's needed.
Yeah. And I don't think a lot of people, even kids, and I think kids have the most open minds, because I feel a lot of things that close your mind are taught, like our own history. And so I think kids doing that with the youth is so beautiful, because they do have the most open mind. So they may even see, way more things than we see that are artistic. So, and it would be very cool to see what they create, because it could open our minds more.
Yeah.
As artists, and help them more. It's always great I like that you say mentoring, because I feel like when you mentor youth, that as an adult, you also are getting mentored by the youth, because you learn so much about yourself again, and just the simple things in life that entertain or surprise, or anything that makes a kid smile is like, that made you smile? I should smile more, probably,
Yep.
So,
because they look at things in such a different light than we do. A lot of them aren't weighed down by the bills. They're not weighed down from adulthood.
Right.
And they just have such a great outlook on where they are. And I think that could be expressed through so many images, so that would be something maybe I would love to talk to you, maybe doing a welcome video for the kids at some point.
Yeah.
When we get there. Just because they'd be like, he shoots with 50 Cent. What? Like that, that I know for you, like, he's 50 Cent, right? But for myself, it's like, dude, that's pretty sick. Like, that guy is insanely smart. He's insanely business savvy.
I tell a lot of people I've never left a moment with him where I haven't learned something. And I think that's very important to, kind of, again, look at yourself and say, who am I around? And I've honestly, I've been very lucky with most of the artists that I worked with, or still work with, to be that. Nappy Roots, we did this whole tour of, it was called the All American Beer Run Tour. And they were just looking into the future of, one day this is going to end. We can't, there's 4 of us now, 5, including the DJ, and whether it be Rella or 808. And it's just like, what's in our future? How do we, keep the income coming after music? And they utilized their current job of touring. In every city we went to a microbrewery. and we would get tours, and they would always have 1 to 2 days in between shows so they could go to a brewery and just get educated on the craft that they're very interested in. And, I think I don't want to say their ages out loud, but at that age, it's so uplifting to know that you can still learn and you can still achieve. There's no deadline for achieving whatever it is, business, photography, music, whatever. And 50 does it every day with, all of his businesses that he opens, whether it be film or liquor or just relationships with sports teams or whatever. It humbles me and teaches me so much of there's so much more coming that you can do. But just staying true to yourself is, I think, the biggest piece of it, and never losing sight of, for me, photography and yourself. Why are you doing this? For me, it's the love. It'll always be the love. If I ever lose track of the love, I don't want to do it anymore. Because as I always tell people, when I photograph people, I always tell them, I can feel like when I do like, sometimes I'll do free senior photos for students that, didn't have the money or didn't find the time or whatever. I always try to give back. Not everyone's a photographer or a model, but I always try to tell people, when you're sitting in front of a camera, be natural. I can feel your awkwardness if you're awkward in this photo, whether it be your stance or just the way you're feeling. Just always be true to yourself. And that goes for fashion too. If you're uncomfortable on the runway, we'll feel it. Be confident. And I know it's harder to do than, or harder to say than do, but you'll be so much happier with the product on the model side, because you won't want to take that photo home and say, damn, I spent 12 hours there getting makeup and hair done, and I didn't have the confidence. So I hope that staying true to yourself and your art. Just do it for the love. I don't ever do this thinking, is somebody gonna like this? And that's a hard thing to accept sometimes, is people's judgments. So that's why when I take a picture, I'm always like, do I like this? Is this me? And so I hope people do that with themselves, is love yourself and love what you're doing before you do it. And if that's not what you're doing it for, I wouldn't do it. Personally, I wouldn't do it anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and I had a creative block this year, and it's, like writer's block or whatever. And then I also had to step back and look at myself of, again, who am I surrounding myself with? I kept attending events and doing all this work for all these people, and not to be self-centered, but sometimes you also need to do stuff for yourself. Are you growing in this, or are you staying stagnant? I always want to grow. I always want to learn. And when I feel like I'm just here, I need to recognize that I need to be somewhere else. And it doesn't mean that anyone in any situation did wrong. It was just, for me, I was just not growing. My mind wasn't creatively creating. So, and it's okay to get there. I feel like again, self-care, self-recognition. So there's a lot with photography.
When you get too comfortable, you got to keep yourself slightly on the edge of uncomfortable as you're growing, because that's going to constantly keep you learning.
Yeah.
How did the whole G Unit thing happen?
With the films, or
with 50? Well, just with 50 Cent in general.
Oh, I took a risk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still laugh at this day, because 50 was he was my number one artist. If you ever asked me who my favorite artist was, it was 50 Cent. And anybody that knows me knows, I don't want to say a groupie, but like, he's the guy I would like, you turn a song on, my face would light up and smile, like, this is my man.
Nice.
And so I feel like we all have that one art. And so he was coming to town. He came to Denver a few years ago when he was with Effin Vodka. He took over the company, and they were, I don't want to say they were going under, but he was trying to rebrand and stuff. And I was like, man, I've never met 50. I've never seen him live. I'm going to go. I'm going to go to the liquor stores, doing signings, whatever. And I've never drank effing in my life. But I went, and he was 2 hours late, and I waited for him. I was so ecstatic when he walked through the door. That was the only time I ever saw him. And he put out albums, and, I feel a lot of artists sleep on Denver for touring. Colorado is such a huge music scene state. And Denver is always slept on. And 50 was finally coming to Denver. And I was like, I'm going to take everything that I've ever accomplished in this job and throw it at his management team. And I was like, so I put out this email. It was a very long email. And it just said, I've worked for all these artists through these dates, or I'm still currently with them. This is what I've achieved. This is blah, blah, blah. I didn't want them to respond to me with a question. Any question they had, I hoped was in that email. And management got back to me in a few days. And in my mind, I was like, I'm going to send this. I'm not going to expect a job. And if I don't get it, I'm still going to go see it. And I got the one show. And the one show turned into 5 shows. And then the 5 shows turned into 126 shows.
Damn. Dude,
and then
taking a risk.
shows turned into now. So
I'm so ecstatic, man. Like,
yeah.
I know I just met you, but when I saw you pull that little G Unit Films thing out, I was like, dude,
oh yeah,
I'm so fucking proud of your work. Yeah. Like, it gives me hope, man. It's not like I look up to you as for the work you do and where you are, but it's like, that's just showing me there's a ladder that I can follow. Mm-hmm. And I can do the same thing as long as I have faith in this person right here. And that's myself. Dude, that's incredible. And now you work with him full time? Is that your that's your main gig?
And then so he's opening G Unit Films in Shreveport, Louisiana. I signed with them, and then he's going to have a time in August. I forget the dates, to be honest, but you can go on his Instagram and see the dates where you can go, you can tour, and you can, pretty much apply. You don't have to have great film experience. I mean, film it's like a union, you got to work your way up to get more time or whatever you want to call it. And so I think that's what he wants to do. He wants to create jobs for people that want an opportunity. It's not just for people that already have the opportunity. So obviously people that have the opportunity will probably get a lot of jobs, but what he wants to do is create jobs, which I hope people recognize the difference of creating jobs. He's creating future. And that means he's opening doors for people that have been wanting to get into a Tyler Perry studio or Hollywood in some kind of way. And very excited for that to happen. I'm excited. I hope I know a lot of people have been asking me when this is all happening, and it's in August. You can go to 50's page and he has the actual dates. It's a whole week. Check it out, go apply, all that stuff. So.
That's so cool that he's giving back. It's like he's looking for that undiscovered talent, right? He's looking for that up and comer. He's like somebody that I've looked up to forever because he's always got his hands somewhere. He's working he's got a business here, he's got a business there. And from what I've heard, he does stuff for people that nobody even knows. Yep. And that, he shares what he built with others. That's such a different mentality to have, especially in the music industry.
Yeah. Yep.
He's on my, I have a list of Mount Rushmore of people that I would love to one day be able to have a conversation with. And
sure.
He's up there.
Awesome.
Just because I think he gives people so much. If they listen to what he actually says and how he says it, they can learn so much so quickly.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you look at the one thing I was telling this story last night to a family friend is they're like, man, he's another one of those guys that went from music to film. And I'm like, you could view it that way, but if you talk to him, it's such an interesting, it sounds so simple, but who really thought of it? And he'll sit there and tell you, when he had a conversation with me, he was like, how old are you? How old were you when Get Rich or Die Trying came out? And I would tell him I was like, I don't know, 10 or something. I was young. And he was like, okay, so you're probably the youngest area of my fan base. So now go to my oldest area of fan base, and where are they right now? They're not in the clubs. They're not going out to drink and party and listen to my music. They're sitting at home watching TV more than likely. And that's how you have to kind of navigate your fan base. Where are they at now? Where can I go to reach attention in my fan base and be relevant? It's not in the clubs right now. It's on TV. And he still creates music. He'll still create music to put in these shows. So fans are still like, oh, is that a new 50 song? Or, you know, whatever. So he's still including what they grew up with, like for liking it. But they're getting a new side of 50. And I think if you don't grow and create, like I didn't know film. I didn't know how to, I wasn't really very interested in video when I started with him, but he gave me the opportunity of, you know, the more you do, the more you get, kind of his mentality. And the only person that'll be in your way is yourself. So if you don't want to, you know, open your mind and get into film, cool. This is where you're at. But if you do want to get into film, help film the shows, you'll have a brighter future. And he didn't mean even, you know, just with him, it was just stepping back and realizing he's right. But for someone to think like that, like the way your fan base moves, and it's just very intelligent to me. Seems very simple, but who thinks a lot in that way?
I'm definitely in that older fan base. I'm, man, I think I was almost 30 when that album came out. So, I mean, I'm rolling in on to 50 now. So,
okay. I'm 33. So,
but I understand what he's saying because I don't want to be out there anymore.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that album used to rock my 415. It's pretty damn good. So, but yeah, no, who thinks that way? Really? Yeah. Like who puts, well, my fans are, you know, my biggest demographic is already way past that. So they're going out for dinner, coming home and hanging out, watching my shows. It just makes sense. Unreal. Unbelievable, man. He sounds like such a great mentor.
Yes.
You also, if I'm not mistaken, you shot something for Rihanna.
Yeah, I did.
How did that one come about?
It was through, again, it was just a small, you know, music industry is small, and it's just people knowing people. So that one was huge. You know, to have my stuff put up on a building was just another excitement, I guess, for me. And I'm excited for what's to come with that. That'll come late June with everything on that. So respectfully, I hope we can talk again when that does come out.
Oh, dude.
I just can't speak on that right now.
Heck yeah, man. I'm willing to talk whenever you want, man. Like, even if you just want to shoot the shit for no reason, like, just be like, hey, dude, what's up? I'll do the same. Like, I'm
awesome.
Like I said, I don't find people very often where I'm like, man, we're one and the same. Like, we're cut from the same cloth. I might be older than you, but we have the same thought process, and I can tell already. Like, we're, you know, we're both here, and just we both love our cultures, and we both are just have very similar scenarios, and it's not often that happens.
Right.
Yeah, man. As soon as you have some more information about it, hit me up a couple
days.
When I can
speak on that, I'll shoot it to you. I'll let you be the first.
Oh, dude, that's so sick. I appreciate it so much, man.
So, but yeah, for that, it was, again, it was just networking, and everybody knows somebody. So
I'm going to use those words because I'm currently in the process of trying to figure out a way to take what I'm doing currently, the traffic that I'm pulling in, and kind of turn this into hopefully my full-time thing. Mm-hmm. Right. If I can support my family with what I'm doing while talking to people and sharing people's histories and their stories, can't think of something cooler to do than that.
Yeah.
So that's the goal.
To say you were, I was just having a conversation with my kids last night about it. Is my kid was going through just missing people in his life that are gone, and he's my son's 10, and he's trying to understand like feelings and understand what it's like to lose somebody. So last night I was trying to teach him the importance when he was missing somebody, that one of my family friends was talking to me about my uncle. And I said, son, when you're sad, what I've learned for me, and what works for me won't always work for everybody. But for me, when I feel sad, I go to somebody who knew that person. And for example, I was just happened to be around a family friend that knew my uncle before I was born. And there's always stories that are told that you don't even know about. And so even though they're gone, you can still learn about them. And through these stories, if you miss them, to me, that means you just love them. And to hear stories is a way to feel them. Again, to me, this goes back to culture. Stories are very important to our people. Yep. And another reason why I hope that any of my photography, I hope that there's a story felt through it. And it may be a different story for you than it is for 10 other people, but I just hope a story is felt through a lot of my photography. But yeah, it's just, I feel like storytelling and about my son is just, healing is, you can still learn and feel somebody, even though they aren't physically here. And I'm sorry that I kind of rambled again, forgetting why I was going on this tangent, but teaching my son about healing, and I'll stop there because now I'm bothered why I went on that tangent.
When we miss people, it's showing that we have something in our heart or in our soul at that moment that sparked that remembrance. And it's important to remember those we've lost. I have moments when my mom that we were talking about, that was my adoptive mom, and she's my mom. Day 2, she had me from awesome. Day 2, and that's my ride or die forever. Next to my dog. My dog's my ride or die too.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, that's my Stella
Love
Bella
that photo. Okay.
So she was my co-pilot. And then 2 days after Christmas, not this year, but last year, she looked at me and said, "Papa, it's time." And I had to put her down. And man, I'm still devastated to this day. She was my everything. So my coworkers had that done for me.
Very cool.
And on the back it says Stella Bella, my co-pilot forever. And
nice.
She stays. She's going to go downstairs in the new studio when it's finished.
Cool. She's
just super important. And it's a thing. Like, I have a new puppy now that I said I'd never get unless the dog looked at me with the eyes of her. And my friend said, "Hey, I've got this Mexican rescue." Sent me the photo, and it was just the dog looking at me, and it had the same eyes. And I'm like, okay, I'll be down to Portland in 2 weeks to get it.
Nice.
Yeah. So we've got, he's 8 months old now, and he's still crazy as can be. So he hasn't barked yet, which is impressive.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my ride or die. So that's
very cool.
But like my mom, every time I needed something, every time I go through something in my life, still to this day, I have that remembrance of the words she would say to me, and I miss her, and it sucks and it hurts. And I think about, she was so much better off when she actually passed because of the pain she was in from the rejection of the transplant. And the selfish me wanted her to fight it and stay, but the son in me wanted her to just let her know that it was okay to go.
Sure.
So I was lucky enough to be there when she went. And it was, when I miss her, it's just my soul going, "You're onto something." And the reason you brought up your mom is because you knew she'd give you that advice to go after it. So that's how I look at my stuff like that, man. Like I'm hurting and I'm feeling really low and down about whatever it is. But I think about my mom and all the shit she went through and how strong she was when we got away from my dad. My dad was crazy. And I have to thank her because she actually gave me the ability to find myself and have a life instead of being under the run of what he wanted me to do because I had no say.
Sure.
So when we miss people, it's always for a reason, and it's always usually a good reason. It's something good is going to come in your life. And the reason you miss them is because you wanted to tell them about it.
Yep.
Right? So,
yep.
It's a hard message to explain. I got 4 of my own, and then I have 2 stepkids. So plus 2 grandkids. So it's a busy
Nice.
house. Yeah, man. Like, and I'm trying to do this. Plus I want my photography to be seen forever. I want my grandkids to go, that was my grandpa. My grandpa shot that. I'm still on a mission. I'm on a mission to put solid work down. I'm on a mission to reach some of the goals that I've set out for myself in the last year, because this is the first year where I have true belief in myself.
Yeah.
This podcast has helped me a ton.
Good.
Like reaching out to you, I was like, dude, this guy shoots with some big heavy hitters, but I love his work and I want to hear his story. So here it goes. And that's what you just said. You said, I just asked.
Yeah.
Like Josh Katz, he's a shooter out of LA. He ran into Killer Mike in a hot dog shop in LA.
Oh, cool.
And he goes, his wife loves Killer Mike. And he walked over and he's like, are you Killer Mike? He's like, yeah, man, what's up? He's like, oh, my wife over there hiding behind the thing. She's a huge fan. He's like, oh, bring her over. So he brought her over and they were just talking. And he said, hey, I'm a portrait photographer. Any chance I could ever grab a portrait? And he's like, yeah, man, here's my number. So that's how they set it up. And now he has shots of Killer Mike that he took in Killer Mike's hotel room. Like, very unbelievable. Cool. You just have to ask.
Those are the cool shots. It's like, sorry to interrupt.
No worries.
Those are always the coolest shots, like in their natural, just in their natural being. Seeing an artist off the stage and whatever is their life. Always a cool part. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, man. When I feel like I know someone, it's just easy to just keep going, because in reality, like I was at the lowest part of my life when I found the camera, kind of done. I was just anything else because you buried me already. Like, let's keep going.
Right.
And then I started shooting photos and I really wanted to, I shot a long exposure of a river and I took 300, 400 shots and they were all black because I had no idea what I was doing. And then I got that one where I got the water in the long exposure and it looked like it was running. And I was like, uh-oh, did I just find something? And then it just grew from there. And now if I don't shoot, if I don't at least take a couple photos a week, I'm super down. It really does help me. I call it my therapy. Photography is my therapy. And now I've added this. So speaking to people is my therapy. I'm able to share what I've learned, the knowledge that I have with people. I'm able to learn from their knowledge. And I've created a really cool group of people I call friends. And but that would be the same thing. Like, man, like I would love to just be able to keep in touch with you outside of the podcast and social media realm and just ask you questions or just be there and be like, dude, hey, I'm coming to Denver. Is there anything I should shoot? Stuff like that.
And if I'm here, I'll meet you.
Yeah, dude, I'd love that. And also if you know any other Indigenous creatives, like, people that I would love to hear. I want more Indigenous people on the podcast because that's really what's most important to me. I want to hear their stories of how they came through their journey and got to where they are and offer that inspiration and that upliftment to the communities. So if you could recommend anybody or put a good word in for me with anybody, I'd be over the moon, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, dude. Well, I'll let you get going. I know you've probably had a busy week because you flew in today?
Yeah. It's funny that before I go, that you said that about feeling like when you feel something, like the miss of someone. My mom, when I was starting photography and starting to tour, she pushed me, and she was very sick at the time. And I would always make the excuse like, I don't want to do this. I want to spend my time with you because time to me is very important. Can't get it back. Can't get a refund. And so my time with my mom was very special and important because I didn't get much when my uncle was sick. And she would push me and she'd be like, son, I love to travel. Go see the world for me. And that's what would get me is she would make it about her, like, okay, go see the world for me and bring it back and show me. So I was touring, not, but she would teach me these things of really teaching you that it's okay. You will be okay. When in my mind, it was like, okay, I'm doing this for my mom. No, I started to realize, Joe, you are okay. And you're actually enjoying this and you are doing great at it. The bonus is going home to tell mom about it.
Yeah.
And so last Saturday, I did a show in New York for Mary J. Blige. She always does the Mother's Day show for the women. And
Amazing.
I missed my mom a lot that night. And when you're talking about your dog and your co-pilot is, Rob, my pilot, has become one of the biggest rocks for me traveling. Rob flies me everywhere. He picks me up here and we go everywhere. It's just him and I on the plane when we leave and when we come home. And it's amazing the people you meet through what you do, even if it's, so to finish the story, it's just, you know, Rob is next to me every second going into a show. And when the show is done, he is right there. I'll send you a picture of one of the shots management captured of us last at that show. But he was just a huge rock of, you know, reminding me about my mom. And you feel her so much here because she's here with you. And very special moment. So I think it's very cool that you say that, because when you're telling the story, I was like, okay, so this is probably why I felt this.
And I just try to share what I feel. And I put a lot of time in just like writing stuff down, because I grew up in an era where we didn't talk about feelings. We didn't talk about, we got hurt. We just sucked it up, you know. Oh yeah, I'm good. In reality, you're not. And I learned in my mid 30s that it was okay not to be okay. That being not feeling well mentally is okay. And I don't have to suck it up. I can find ways to get it out. And I started just writing my words on on paper, and then started talking to kids, like all my wife's friends' kids that were like her nieces and nephews during the whole time, like sitting them all down and letting them know it's not your fault. If you have any questions, I'm always here. I'm always your uncle, even though we weren't together anymore. Like, I'm always here. Whatever you need, I'm here. And I've actually formed a pretty good bond with one of them. And she's so supportive of this podcast and the mental health aspect of it.
Very cool.
And she always asks questions. And I want to share with people. And this is what I want to do. I want to share my experiences and how you just picked up on what I was saying. And you're like, wait a minute, dude, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that to me is what the Life of Phys is actually about. It's making these personal connections. It's learning from each other and just building a community of like-minded people. So,
right.
And that's where we're at. We're at the beginning of this, and we're going to grow, and we're going to keep putting out good content and keep learning every single day and offering words of wisdom and sharing stories of amazing creatives. I'm trying to branch out. I'm trying to get musicians in.
Cool.
I've got some contacts with some NFL players.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's super cool. But that's another thing, is I've actually stopped talking about gear on the show. You know, occasionally we'll bring it up. Someone's like, oh man, I got the new Leica. That's rad. And I'm like, cool, that's awesome, man. But then I realized, like, gear isn't that important. It's the eye and the soul that shoots it.
Thank you so much. I've lived by that forever. Is you know, you don't need the newest or whatever somebody says is the best gear. It's in my opinion, your art is your art, and you don't need the best thing or the newest thing to make it better than somebody else's. Because to me, art is not a competition. It's just self vision.
Yep.
It's just a personal view, and everyone's going to have a different view on whatever it is. So
100%.
If that's something I can give people off of this is, you don't need the best gear. You don't need the newest gear. And for people going through things in life, or people doing photography, at the end of the day, it's okay to fail. And I think that that's a big thing to understand and accept, is you're going to fail, and don't ever think that failure is wrong. I think you learn so much from failure than you do, as I said, always succeeding. So
exactly, man. But yeah, it's not that important. I love the fact that, you know, you agree that gear isn't the end all be all.
Yeah, I don't think you need to be broke to feel you're successful.
Exactly, man.
You're getting something. Money comes and goes. It's like I said, it's the love for me, and that's priceless. So
awesome. Well, dude, I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time for me.
Dude, anytime. Doesn't matter where you are, man. If you want to do an episode just because you're feeling something, hit me up. I'm always around.
That's awesome.
Even if you're on tour, man, I'm like so down to help promote whatever you're doing.
Okay.
You know, and if we look back through lineage, we're brothers somewhere. So,
yeah,
you know, let's grow together. And like I said, any Indigenous creatives that you know that think I should reach out to them, or you can give me a help with an inside foot to have them on to share their story. I'm just all about inspiring youth, man. I just want to see the youth come out in the next generation and just show people why Indigenous people are so proud of who we are.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm going to fire you my number and stuff, and we'll just you'll get random messages from me. Just always thinking, asking you how you are.
Thank you. Because it gets, and I think a lot of people don't realize that I feel like everybody wants to be in the industry, or they just see the money, the lights, and the good times. And I hope with what I'm putting out on my Instagram now, that, everything isn't glitz and glamour. And even as a photographer, it's hard. It gets lonely. The road gets lonely. So having even a simple comment like that, like, I'll check in on you, it means a lot, because there's times where, as anyone in life, no matter what you're doing, you're going to go through loneliness and hard times. So there's no job or anything in the world that cures any of that. So,
well, we're brothers now, man. So I'm always going to be looking out for you.
Thank you.
And look, we didn't even talk about Mr. What's His Pants. I so badly want to, but I'm trying to be, I have my own opinion on everything I've been hearing. Is it true you guys are doing a documentary?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there'll be a few that we saw that are going to come out, and my team is just like, to me, in our opinion, it's they're the ones that are going to come out sooner, just for the money. Where ours is going to be, we're going to have victims on our shows, or on our documentary, major ones, and we will have evidence, and any text evidence will have video evidence. And there's a lot that we're doing it so the victims, we're doing it for the victims. We're not doing it for money. We're not doing it for showboating or anything. It is for, victims have to live this their whole life. And if they can have an opportunity to help somebody, even if it's just be one person, you're still saving a life, and you're sharing your story, and people deserve to hear the truth. And I think the world is scared of the truth in a lot of areas. And so with this, it'll probably be a few years, because if you look at it now, it's like the gates are just opening. So why would you do a documentary right now? You don't even know, a quarter of the story.
It's going to get nuts.
I don't even know a quarter of the story.
Yeah.
But what I can tell you is it goes beyond music. It goes into sports. It goes like all these people involved. It branches out so far. So I hope it also brings awareness to, again, people that want to be in the industry and think that it's such a fix. A lot of people that you're probably a fan of may be involved, or may have been harshly affected by it. And, it's not just women. It's a lot of men as well, young and older. So,
well, I look forward to that coming out.
Thank you. So when I say I think I said it a few times on my Instagram, but when I say y'all aren't ready for this, it's not me saying, my stuff's the best and blah, blah, blah. I'm literally saying, I don't think you guys are ready to see, like, the video that's going around right now.
The elevator video or whatever, or she was trying to get away. Yeah. Dude, I wanted to go through that screen and just show that man a lesson,
and that's not even it's not even the full video, but it wasn't about, one hit was enough, so to show 30 seconds was more than enough.
Yep.
Whether he got, right now it's too late to charge him with it, because that's how the law works. There's a time frame to do stuff. But the important message is you can't unsee that.
Yep.
So charged or not, now you know. So if people thought that was rough, again, I mean it when I don't think a lot of people are ready to, like I was told when Killers of the Flower Moon came out,
Yep.
I was told, I don't think a lot of people are saying, go with family. I don't think you're ready to, kind of take in what you're about to see. And that's kind of what the message I'm saying is like, if you've been abused or you don't understand the extent of abuse, prepare yourself, I guess, because it's a lot to take in. So,
and if there's anything you need for help with or whatever I can do, let me know. Cause
sure.
That I'm so against everything that man stands for.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys do. I just remember that I think it was 50 said years ago. He's like, fuck that fool. I ain't getting involved with him. Like it was just like a random quote, and how true it came many years later.
And I think that's, again, it's like, I think the truth people are just so oblivious to. So if you I was talking to a lot of my friends are very, they keep me sane. My sister Ba, she keeps me so sane a lot of the times because, again, it's a lot for me to take in. I have security now everywhere I go because of what I am putting out. And so when 50 would say stuff like that, it's like people don't believe it because I feel like they don't want to believe it when it's really like our history. It's like a lot of people are saying, well, why are you so stuck on the past? Our people aren't stuck on the past. We're stuck in what's still happening today that was happening in the past.
Yeah,
We're
they
not
say
stuck
get
in
over
the
it.
past. It's still happening. Yeah. Well, then change.
I got a photo to send you from, I went to a rally for the residential school that kids that didn't make it home. I'll tell you a little backstory on it. It's for Kamloops, BC. They found 271 unmarked graves for the kids who didn't make it home. So I was there, and obviously affected me because that's our culture, and those are our ancestors that are no longer here. Never got a chance to have a life. And there was a dream catcher in the ground, and the sun was setting and the sky was fire. It was oranges and purples, crazy. And a little girl walked up, and all I could see was a silhouette, but she touched it. And at that moment I took the photo. So I have a silhouette of the dream catcher and the girl touching it with this crazy, crazy sunset. And She goes, "Don't worry, you're not going to be forgotten anymore." And obviously I was instantly like,
oh yeah.
But it turned out my grandmother escaped from that residential school. So that I learned later on, and it just closed that chapter and why that photo hits me every time. But I'll send it to you. But yeah, it's powerful.
I'm excited to see this.
Anything you need ever, dude. Like,
thank you.
You'll have my number. Even if you just need someone to shoot the shit with,
sure.
Give me a holler, give me a text. We'll make it happen. But one more thing I did want to talk about was Lily Gladstone.
Yeah.
How fucking awesome is it to see us portrayed as fucking heroes and not villains anymore?
Exactly. Yeah.
Dude, it's so powerful.
The narrative is always, I even liked Hostels. I don't know if a lot of people in our culture liked Hostels, but I liked Hostels. I think it showed the right, not to get off Lily at all, but I feel like there's so many few displays of our culture that are positive, and whether it be in the actual film or just in life, it was so exciting to see, Leonardo so supportive of Lily. He never, at least from what I saw, I remember him running in when she was getting like interviewed or something, and he just wanted to give her a hug, and then people try to pan to him, and he was like, no, this is Lily's moment. And he just left so she could have her moment. And I'm so proud of her for one. I'm very excited that it's a woman, that, her being an Indigenous woman is so inspiring to our women. And not to go back to what we were talking about, but that is a huge goal of mine through this documentary, is to show our people that though a lot of our men don't do great things, that there's still good men out there within our people, especially for our women to see that.
Yep.
And so for Lily Gladstone to be a positive female and an icon, I call her an icon now,
100%.
someone to look up to, because in our culture, there's city natives, there's people raised on the res, there's people that get it, experience both. I think she has the power to inspire both, and that's such a powerful gift to have in my eyes. So I'm always supportive of her. Never met her. I did get to meet Tantu this year. She walked at Res for Red Berry Woman.
Nice.
And having those kind of women for our people is very important.
The matriarch is always the one, right? So to have more that are showing strength and showing just the ability to, on lack of better words, get out there and kick ass.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And that's where I'm finding my struggle, is being able to bridge the gap and open the door to get. I've got a couple female Indigenous creatives they're like right there, ready to come on. But I feel like once I get one on and people are like, okay, I want to listen to this, and they're like, man, he approaches things differently. I don't pick and I don't pry. I just want to talk to you and have a conversation, that I can open the door, because I think it's super important that young girls on reserve, or like you say, in cities that are learning about their cultures, see these powerful women that are doing amazing things.
Yeah.
And it gets spread any way we can, so people understand, look at this, you can all achieve this.
Yep. And shout out to I've never actually heard her name said, Cara Jade Meyer, or Cara J. Meyer. She was in Killers of the Flower Moon. She was the one that she was killed in her character was killed. And her and I have talked a little bit on Instagram, but I think her character deserved so much more, and her as an actress in that character deserved so much more recognition for what she played. I just think she did an amazing job as well.
I agree. Man, I have so many ideas for this platform to get actors and actresses and musicians and athletes and photographers. And I've talked to everybody from a kid who just started, who has so much passion for it and is doing incredible work, to people who are super well established in their 70s. And we all have the same story. It doesn't matter what culture we are. We all have a story of, we do this because we love it. We've all had pitfalls and crap, but even though they've had pitfalls and crap, they have no idea what our culture's gone through.
Yep.
And I see it every day with my wife when she comes home, because the schools are like, Indigenous Peoples Day, they booked field trips for the other kids. Well, that day is important. It's important for everybody to know, or even hear these kids, the way they talk about our people is like,
right.
Okay, I got to leave, because if you're going to keep talking this way, we're going to have a problem, and it's not good, because it's probably one of the most beautiful cultures you'll ever be involved in.
Yep.
I see your photos with your regalia and stuff on, man. It's just, that shit's incredible. So.
And it's so healing to wear it. When I put my bonnet on, a woman has to put it on them. And with my mother and my grandmother being gone, there's only certain women that can put it on me. And I've made sure that was something. I don't usually take pictures of myself. I'm not one to, want to be in front of the camera. And an Indigenous photographer who I did forget to talk about in the Grammy shoot, he was the one that actually took the portraits of me and Norma. So his stuff was shown as well. His name's Daniel Suave, I believe I said his last name. He's in Denver. I'll shoot you his info.
Please.
But he's the only guy that I really let shoot me, and especially with my bonnet. So last year, him and I kind of started a project of him capturing the moments of the women who are allowed to put the bonnet on me. And I think that's very important for my kids to have, and my kids to understand why them, why the women, because the women to us are sacred. And so the bonnet, so when I wear my or have my feathers on, I feel the medicine of the women in my life, whether they're still here or not. It's very healing to me, and it's very honoring to experience that kind of healing in life. Man. And I don't think a lot of people outside of our culture have that connection to anything.
I think we could probably ramble all night if we wanted.
Yeah, sorry.
But my wife was drumming in the circle to send a canoe off that was paddling from us in Langley, which is right on the U.S. border, up to Alaska on the outside, so the open ocean. They were paddling over 3 months to go up to spread the word of a tour of the tour they were doing. And I was on a bridge taking photos of the helicopter following the canoe up the river, and they started drumming, and all of a sudden I was like feeling this vibration through the ground, through my body, and I'm looking at people around me, and you can tell they don't feel a thing, and I'm like,
sure,
trying to find someone that was seeing and feeling what I'm feeling, and I'm like, okay, this is weird. So I look around, nobody, and then all of a sudden, they just start hitting. They hit a different note, and it's like the canoe's going under me. They hit this note. The energy from the canoe comes up, goes through my body, and I'm like, I'm hooked. This is where I need to be. Like the power. Yeah. And I had Brandon on. Brandon was the skipper of the canoe. Brandon Gabriel. He's part of Kwantlen First Nation here in Langley.
Okay.
And he told a story. He was like, yeah, I remember seeing you on the bridge, and I was going under the bridge, and this rush of energy left my body and went up through the bridge. And I was like, yeah, because it went through the bridge and went right through me. Right. And he's like, that's why we're so connected. Mm-hmm. And it's so incredible to have those experiences. And I can only imagine when you put the bonnet on, what happens to you and what you feel.
Yeah. I just feel like I'm representing, I can only wear it certain times, and in certain moments. And, when I do wear it, I don't even feel me. I just feel the women. And when I wear it, I feel like I'm wearing it to represent them. It's not even for me. And so it's very powerful, and it's very important to understand why I have this, why I was honored with this, why I get to be the one that's honored to wear it, and what I'm wearing it for, who I'm wearing it for. And because if you don't have that understanding, I hope there's elders that teach you that. So I made sure, Redberry Woman is actually the one who honored me with the bonnet. And so after the shoot, she honored me with the bonnet with her sister, Caspi. Caspi adopted me, after my mom passed. So Caspi is my adopted mom, and Tessa is my sister. Tessa was my first photo to be in the Smithsonian. And it was like my mom's favorite photo. And so Amazing. I named that photo Nwoti, which means healing or medicine. And so after the shoot and Norma honoring me with that, it was a bigger honor to sit in a room with Caspi and Redberry Woman and just them talk to me and educate me. And that's the very importance of Caspi adopting me, is to continue to teach, and guide me through life, because I don't have, my mother or my grandmother. And so it's a huge honor to have Caspi be this person for me in life. And I don't think there's, other cultures that really understand this, or like connect in that way. So
yeah, dude, I got goosebumps. I feel it. Something that maybe one day when you're not as busy doing your work, we should talk about maybe collabing on a nationwide project to empower awesome. The women of communities.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah.
And it would be cool to, because you're in Canada, and it would represent, to me, the nations aren't separated, but
Yeah.
in a lot of people's minds, the nations are separated. So to collab in even that way, I think would be super awesome.
What is your home community?
It's Sagonige and Chata.
Okay.
My grandfather had Hopi in him, but I wasn't raised in any traditional way to understand the knowledge of that part of me. So.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Lower Nicola, which is Interior Salish.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm just right now, I have that information now. It's such an important piece of information. But yeah, and then I would love to, when we have time, throw some ideas around how we can make this work. And I mean, because there is no land borders for Indigenous people, as far as,
right.
There was never a land border. There is no separation between the two. So,
yeah,
appreciate your time, dude. I am so grateful for all of this, the information.
Same.
I feel like I gained a brother today. This is amazing.
Same. Thank you very much.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Life of Phys Podcast. I hope you've enjoyed our show, and don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us continue to bring you content and the stories of our incredible guests. And remember to stay connected with us on all social media platforms. It's at LIFE_OF_PHYS, or on the internet at www.lifeofphys.com. Thank you for tuning in, and have a great day.